House of Representatives has voted to impeach President Donald Trump for a second time, making him now the only U.S. president to be impeached twice. House voted 232 to 197 in favor of the resolution as 10 Republicans joined the Democrats. Trump was impeached over a charge of incitement of insurrection for his role in last week's deadly Capitol protests. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called Trump a clear and present danger to America. And with the Senate in recess until January 19th, it's still unclear how impeachment trial in the upper chamber will play out. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said he has not made a final decision on how he'll vote on impeachment. President-elect Joe Biden is set to be inaugurated on January 20th. Joining us now in Los Angeles, California, is Ramiro Fuentes, co-editor at Anticonquista. Hello, Ramiro. Always a pleasure to have you on Press TV. Your thoughts on the U.S. president getting impeached twice?
The fact that Donald Trump is the first U.S. president to be impeached twice has some serious implications, not only for Trump himself, not only for the Republican Party, but for the United States as a whole. We've seen a lot of firsts throughout this presidential administration. This is one of the most divided times in the United States. Politically, polarization is at an all-time high. Political instability is becoming the norm in the United States, as well as government shutdowns. In 2020, we were very close to getting to a government shutdown. What Trump's second impeachment represents is the collapse of the U.S. empire. The same way that Julius Caesar was unable to maintain the Roman Republic and the empire grew and expanded and also eventually collapsed, we're seeing something very similar with the United States. Political instability is at an all-time high, and I think at this point the U.S. has lost a lot of credibility on the international stage in terms of dictating who is democratic and who is not democratic. I think a lot of countries around the world are witnessing this moment and realizing that the age of U.S. empire is on its final days.
Right, and right now, what does this mean for a very divided country? We saw what his supporters are capable of. I'm not saying that, because it's a very fine line saying that he actually incited an insurrection. Okay, that's really, it's illegal, really illegal a premise, an accusation. But, he did really employ some really hardcore rhetoric that did get people riled up. What do you think is going to happen now? The country is very divided, it's very fractured. It's on a tipping edge, and it did tip last week. What's to say it's not going to tip again, especially after a second impeachment?
Tensions in the United States are going to continue getting worse as long as the crisis continues getting worse. People also have to remember that we're dealing with multiple crises at the same time. COVID-19 is destroying major cities in the United States, including Los Angeles, where I am now, New York, Washington, D.C. People are losing their jobs, businesses are shutting down. The economic, political, and financial crisis that is hitting the United States is something that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Democrats are not prepared at all to handle. We already see major issues with Biden's administration in terms of his hawkish war policy. He wants to continue imperialist invasions abroad. He wants to continue regime change operations abroad. Meanwhile, there are people literally dying of hunger and losing their jobs by the day in the United States. So I think what we're going to see is that this political crisis is going to continue evolving. We're going to see more involvement of economic factors. I think we're going to see within the next few years something similar, perhaps, that what we saw during Occupy Wall Street, which also was under the Democrats when Obama was president, where you're going to see more of a grassroots base, hopefully unifying these different sectors of U.S. society that have a lot more in common than we think. People on both sides of the aisle, we are both losing jobs, we're both losing security, we're both being kicked out of our homes by banks, and we want a government that doesn't want wars abroad. But I think at this point, we're still divided in this Democrat-Republican narrative. And I think what we're going to see in the next few years is a grassroots movement in the United States that is not beholden to either side, that is truly independent and based in the interest of working people.
All right, stay safe, bud. Until we talk to you again from Los Angeles, that's Ramiro Fuentes, co-editor at Anticonquista.